Ladies and gentlemen, now in today's video we're going to be having a little bit of a chat and breaking down the tier list update for June 2020. Now in the last few weeks we've had quite a few new characters. We've had the green Lilia, and then after that we had blue demon Meliodas, and then after that we had blue Merlin and Valenti, and now this week we've had the green fighter Diane. The new characters are just pouring in, but I think two of them especially, blue demon Meliodas and Valenti, have been some really interesting additions to the game. I know some people really don't like the Valenti meta at the moment. That's very dominant in PvP. Like, Valenti control team is just way too strong, and you have to go for some very like niche counters in order to beat it, and those counters don't really fare well against a lot of the other kind of dominant Pierce teams of blue demon Meliodas. So yeah, it's a bit of a curious one at the moment, but blue demon Meli and Valenti, I think they're both very interesting additions to the game, and they're great for like a lot of stuff as well outside of PvP. But aside from that, I don't think like anybody else has been like super impactful. Green Lilia is okay, but every time I faced a green Lilia team, the damage reduction that she has from her unique is like a bit annoying in PvP. However, it's not the biggest thing in the world. She's still like pretty easy to get around. Her cards really aren't that impactful for the most part. She is, again, a little bit annoying, but a character that can be dealt with like at least quite easily by a lot of the top meta teams in my opinion. And then we've got green fighter Diane. Now I think this character, she's just like a little bit too flimsy, and also her shield and taunt at the start is just really easy to play around. You can just clap away that shield with like one Escanor card and then just really attack whoever you fancy there. And there are a lot of ways for like CC to get through her taunt as well. So yeah, green fighter Diane, at least from what I've seen myself and played against so far, she doesn't really seem like the biggest problem in PvP, and there appear to be like loads of solutions for all sorts of teams to get around her. But there are some like fun gimmicky teams that do work with green fighter Diane. So she doesn't have like an amazing like overall ranking at the moment, and she does hit like a bit of a wet noodle, at least in my experience in ungeared PvP. I was like really disappointed by the damage. And then we got blue Merlin. Blue Merlin, like at her base, man, her cards are just like a little bit air. I like the one where she like ranks down everyone, but the thing is, the majority of scenarios when people use like Gotha's rank up in stuff like PvP, then they just immediately use those cards and don't really hold on to them a lot of the time. So yeah, she works under very like certain circumstances, and you do need to build like a team with like Gotha and Helbram around her, and at that point you might as well just replace her with like Blue King or like Valenti or just one of their much better characters. So yeah, we did a PvP video earlier today, but I do think she's a bit of a novelty, and her unique ability sucks, man. It's so bad. So yeah, she was a little bit disappointing overall. But when it comes to some of the top line champions at the moment, Gotha, at least in my opinion, is still like the best overall character in the game. He's used probably in like, what is it, 80-90% of like top PvP teams. He's just great for all of the demons, the training cave, pretty good for auto farming as well. I've kind of updated his ranking for that, and he is you know, easily available to most players that have been playing for like a month or two in the Platinum Coin Shop. Like last week he was discounted, so it'll probably still be a few weeks before he goes on discount again. But yeah, Red Gotha, man, if you haven't already got him, he's the character to strive for. And then I would say like second overall, man, Big Daddy Escanor. This guy demolishes story, like shreds so much in PvP. Like Escanor, I would say is what, a good like 70% of PvP teams out there at the moment. Like his single target burst damage is just so stupid, but I do love it, man. He's a character that really does live up to the hype. You can also use him for Grey Demon. He's not quite as good as Green King, but you can, you know, chuck Crawl Sun at the opponent, rush that ult. The ult hits so hard, just quickly burst down certain phases. But again, he's not the best for Grey Demon if you do have Green King, but he can work as an alternative if you literally just rush Ultimate. And then we've also got Crimson Demon. He's pretty good for that. Again, not quite as good as Blue Demon Meliodas, but Escanor, he still slaps on that fight, and also the Incinerate that he applies really helps like amplify the damage of all characters as well, which is nice. The current Knighthood boss, he's really good for, like the most popular and easy team for a lot of people on the current Knighthood boss, which is so much easier than the previous version, is you just want all green characters and the most health you possibly can, and then just one character that can just like one-shot the boss with their ult, and Escanor's like really good for that. So yeah, top option there. Also auto farming. Again, no AoE, but he's like okay for auto farming. Got a bit of single target. Training cave, he's great for one of the bosses in there. And then going down, we got Blue King, really good for story, PvP. King is still used, I'd say, probably on about, it's probably about 40-50% of PvP teams at the moment. Mainly like Kingbrum setups, and also, what is it, King, Escanor, and also Blue Demon Meliodas burst team. But yeah, King's still awesome, man. He's got a lot of longevity as well. Can be used for the Red Demon as an alternative if you don't have like Gustav, or what is it, the red version of Merlin, kind of souped up. And he's also very good for Training Cave, one of the most difficult bosses in there. But yeah, King's still an absolute banger. Green Merlin, fantastic control, really insane for PvP. Like, so many of the top control teams just all revolve really around Green Merlin, and her drain, or either kind of her passive ability like Kingbrum, is greatly boosted by starting with that additional ult gauge as well. So yeah, like Kingbrum with ult food is still disgusting, man, especially in like ungeared PvP. That team is like so dominant for anybody that's like really looking to climb the ladder and like punch up above their CC. So yeah, Merlin's really good. Blue Demon Meliodas is amazing for auto farming. He's crazy for that. He's also, if you're not facing a Valenti team, he's just ridiculous in terms of the amount of burst damage that this character can deal. Again, he's a lot more dominant in geared PvP with pierce rate gear, because this really amplifies his damage by a ridiculous amount. So yeah, the, what is it, Blue Demon Meliodas Escanor team is pretty nuts if there's no Valenti. But then Valenti control at the moment, I would say, is probably the #1 PvP team, just because it can pretty much batter like every other PvP team pretty reliably, apart from like Red Merlin freeze control comps and very quirky like Mono Red Helbram comps that we've been running as well. But yeah, Valenti control, when played really well, is just a hard team to topple, man. But then we also have Arthur. Arthur, I would say, is a bit more dominant, probably in normal PvP in comparison to geared at the moment. Like the Arthur, Gotha, Escanor, and then like Griamore on the sub team is actually quite a popular one at the moment in Champion 1. It's a very tanky team, man. Gives like, what is it, Arthur and Escanor, like a lot of survivability, a lot of lifesteal. It doesn't rely on ult rushing as well. So that one, you know, can be a very nice team, especially for punching up as well. So I do quite like that one. But Arthur, you know, he's still an MVP in the meta, and especially with Red Escanor coming in like a couple of months as well, it's going to have even more value. But love the boy Arthur. And then we got Red Helbram, again, a core component to the Kingbrum team, but also you can run like what is it, Mono Red Helbram, Arthur, Gotha, and then either like Twigo or what is it, Red Griamore, and that one's a little bit trolly. It can win against Valenti, not quite as good as like Red Merlin control teams against Valenti, but yeah, it's a fun little team to run. But there's a lot you can do with Helbram. Again, its best use is with like King and Gotha, and also Merlin on the sub for those Kingbrum teams. But yeah, he's great for PvP, really valuable for Training Cave as well. Hauser, I've kind of taken down from a 5 to a 4, because I feel like with Blue Demon Meliodas, he's not quite as dominant at the moment. Like Blue Demon Meli, if you're running somebody alongside Escanor, it's Blue Demon Meli. And with the introduction of Valenti, it's kind of taken Hauser down a peg and given that counter that, yeah, you just don't really see too much Hauser now. But I think with the introduction of Lilia, Hauser, you know, maybe on next month's tier list or maybe in a week or two, might be going back up to a 5 there. Jericho is I would say Jericho, like, you can have like a Jericho Escanor single target burst team, and those are interesting in ungeared PvP. But yeah, Jericho isn't quite meta, but she can work if you know, you get a little bit lucky, man. Liz Hawk, what is it? The Liz Hawk Merlin Gotha control team could be a little bit fun in PvP, and Liz Hawk apparently is going to be very good for the final boss Gotha that's coming out, I think, next week as well. But she's awesome for certain fights in the training cave. And then we got Blue Diane. The Diane ult rush, like, with mainly kind of a green control meta at the moment, is not working out as well as it maybe was before, but it can still work out. You know, if you get a little bit lucky, if you're not fighting a heavy control team, then you can have a little bit of fun rushing ults on Blue Diane. Red D Meli is still a very fun ambush unit, and Red Merlin maybe should be at least for the Valenti counter, a 5, but I think overall she's probably at a 4 in PvP, man. Having like that bronze freeze that, you know, freezes the opponent and also strips away, shield buffs as well, is just the core thing that allows Red Merlin to dominate those super annoying Valenti control matchups at the moment. So yeah, I am really, really fond of my Red Merlin right now, man. That's the team that I've been running in top 100 PvP, and I've been having a blast with it, but I haven't been like going really hard for top 100 just because there's so much we've been doing on YouTube this week. Then we got Green Meliodas, great for the story, really good for a lot of stuff in Training Cave as well. Again, Red Merlin is amazing for a couple of fights on Training Cave. You definitely want to have her up for that, at least level 60 there. Green King, just the God Slayer for the Grey Demon, man, really, really good for that. Green Barn, alright for some other stuff in story and auto farming, has his uses in Training Cave as well. Maybe he should be a 4 instead of a 5 for auto farming, because I think the Pierce characters, I would say, are a little bit better. So actually, I might just bump him down on this video, because yeah, at the moment, like, my farming team, and the one I found like most efficient, and I've done a fair bit of testing, is like Blue Demon Meliodas, Hauser, Red SR Lizhawk, and also Lionheart on the sub as well, and everything just dies in like one card, man. It is a little bit mental. So yeah, I really, really do like that one. So yeah, Green Barn, he's kind of falling off a little bit. Then we got Rimuru, so it's a very like green controlling meta. So a lot of the blue units like Milim, Gallant aren't really having their time in the sun just yet, but if we shift toward more of a red meta again with like the release of Escanor, who knows, man, they might make an interesting comeback. But I'm curious to see, you know, what that red Escanor meta is going to look like. Green Liz, again, never has been like too great in PvP, but she's really fun for the Grey Demon and also quite useful for the current Knighthood boss. I think she should actually probably be a 4 on the current Knighthood boss, so a little bit of a correction there, a little bit of an update, because yeah, she's good for keeping everybody topped up if you don't have access to Valenti, because really the Knighthood boss is all about, you know, just finishing the fight with the maximum amount of health that you can have. So if you don't have Valenti, you kind of need somebody that heals up. So yeah, a little bit of an error there. Then we got Blue Barn and Slater, mainly used for slaying the Red Demon, are going to be a bit more valuable when the Hell version comes out, but for the moment, yeah, they're not too bad. However, I just prefer like the Red SR Lizhawk for the Red Demon, man. She's just so good there. And then we've just got like a load of characters that aren't like super relevant, but a lot of these characters, you know, they're all right to have up if you really do enjoy them. And with the Training Cave, you know, you need like 48 characters to do all the level 3 fights. So if you're like the biggest like Benimaru or Red Gila fan, you know, they've got some fights where they can pack a little bit of a punch in on Training Cave. So yeah, it depends how you want to build your teams. There's a lot of flexibility when it comes to the additional characters that you can add on to teams in Training Cave. So that's pretty damn cool there. However, you don't want to forget about the SR characters, because there are so many amazing SR characters in this game, like Red Lizhawk, personal favorite of mine. She's just amazing for the Red Demon, Crimson Demon, anywhere where you're not really taking that much damage and you can ramp up the passive. She just hits like a friggin' truck. And yeah, it's very nice for the Training Cave, a couple of fights in particular. Also Green Gill Thunder, very good for kind of buffing up like everybody's attack across all the demons and the Knighthood boss. He's just a bit of an all-around MVP there, and also very good for his unique ability in PvP, which increases all defense related stats by 30%, so it makes a lot of the you know, control teams like the Valenti control team, the very dominant one at the moment, even more tanky there. And then we've got Gustav. Gustav is a absolute cheat code along with Red Merlin for a couple of fights in Training Cave, because if you just freeze those fights, man, it's just cheesy wins. Like if you don't already have Gustav like fully like leveled up at least to 60, man, you want to sort that man out right now. Like he's just an MVP for the Red Demon, the Training Cave. That freeze is just awesome. So yeah, he's a really good one. Then next up we got Green Lizhawk. I love this character for auto farming, man. She's got a very strong Pierce card, exactly the same Pierce card as Hauser and Meliodas, so lots of damage on that if you equip her with Pierce gear. So yeah, she's really good in like a full Pierce team. We did some fun videos like last week before Valenti, doing like a triple Pierce team in PvP, man, and that was very trolly there. Lionheart is very good for auto farming, kind of amplifies Pierce damage even more with his unique ability. So yeah, he's a fun one to have up for all sorts of characters, and can be useful as well in stuff like Training Cave. Red Slater is really good for this one fight. I think it's the Green Fair scary in Training Cave, because all she does is apply, like, what is it, buffs and debuffs, I think. I think it's just primarily debuffs, and if you use the card that disables, like, buffs and debuffs, it's just on a bronze, then she doesn't do anything, and you win. And pair that with, like, Vivian as well, and she just, like, stands there and does nothing. So he's a cheat code for that fight, really, really good. But Red Slater, he has some, like, interesting uses in PvP as well. So yeah, he's not too bad to take up. I think you can also use him currently for the Knighthood boss, and if you break the shield, like, the Knighthood boss, like, won't do anything for a turn, so he's a little bit cheesy there. Again, it's all about health, so you can, although it's maybe not as ideal, I know some people have gone for, like, mono red teams or, like, Twiggo, Slater, maybe this Liz as well, and that's an alternative if you don't have, like, the green units built up, so it can still potentially work there. And then we got Red Barn. Red Barn's very, very fun for the Draining story, man. This guy was my Hendrickson MVP on the free-to-play account, but when it comes to Training Cave, he's got a fight he's really, really good for. So yeah, MVP for that. Red Liz just is amazing for her unique ability. Very useful for a lot of the stuff in the story, Training Cave. You can use her as the sub in PvP as well. I don't really see much like Red Liz sub in PvP, because I think there are, like, generally better options. But maybe there'll be a meta in the future where she's a bit more relevant on the sub there. Then we got Kane. Kane, you really just want to take up, man, for his unique and have him on that sub slot for all of the demon fights, because he gives a boost to, I think it's a 15% boost to attack related stats. So yeah, he's got, like, the best unique for slaying demons, like a really, really decent one there. Red Griamore is just the PvP sub slot MVP for so many teams out there. He gives, like, a 15% increase to all health related stats. So this is 15% more health. It's also 15% more lifesteal, and this is massive when you've got, like, Blue Demon Meliodas. He's hitting everybody like a truck. Literally, like, one Pierce card with Red Griamore on the sub is like a full heal for Blue Demon Meliodas. And if you don't believe me, go check out, like, the Blue Demon Meliodas' God tier video, and you'll see just how ridiculous Red Griamore is on the sub. He's an absolute MVP. I've promoted that unique to 5, because really it is a 5, man. It's really, really good. A lot more survivability, with health, lifesteal, and also increasing recovery and regeneration rate. So you get, like, a good amount of, like, natural regen at the start of every turn. So yeah, I really like Griamore, man. I underrated that man for so long. And then we got Blue Meliodas. Can have his uses in Training Cave. He's okay for the story. You know, everybody gets him early on. Blue Gila, certainly not too bad for auto farming. Could be alright for some stuff in the Training Cave. Jillian is currently the MVP with that unique ability for the Knighthood boss if you're running an all-green team, which most people are. So yeah, Jillian's just great for really that unique ability, and that's pretty much it there. Then we got Jericho. She's got a pretty good unique ability, increases the attack related stats of all red characters by 10%, so that can have its uses in certain places. Rimaru's got a pretty nice single target heal and can remove buffs, so he's not too bad for Training Cave. Arthur, apparently this Arthur's going to be very good for the final boss Gotha that's coming out. He's got a hard-hitting ult. I think he can disable recovery skills as well and kind of cleave everybody. So yeah, he's not, like, amazing, but he's alright. I think he's going to have his day on final boss Gotha. And then we've got Green Gotha. Good for certain fights like the Hendrickson in Training Cave, because you can rank down cards and also drain the ult gauge to prevent ult there and also mitigate damage. So Green Gotha, he has his uses. I've bumped him up a little bit on the tier list. But then aside from that, we don't really have, like, anybody else that's, like, super noteworthy, I would say, at the moment. Again, if you just want to take up, like, you know, any of these characters for, like, throwaway slots in the Training Cave, you know, SR characters are much easier to get to level 60 in comparison to SSR, which do cost you the pendants there, so potentially an option, but again, I'd stick to the ones, you know, closer toward the top of this list, in my opinion. And then we've got the R characters, so we got Twigod, who is still, you know, he's not quite as dominant in PvP at the moment, just due to the fact that mono red teams are a little bit, rarer to see at the moment, but I think when Red Escanor comes back, Twiggo is probably going to come back into the fray as a sub-slot character. But yeah, all red teams, man, you want 30% more health. Twiggo is the friggin' boy there. Marmus, all blue teams, 30% more health. He is the MVP. When it comes to final boss Gotha, I think Marmus is going to be one of the pretty much essential units for a lot of players to have upgraded there. So yeah, Marmus is definitely one to keep a bit of an eye on there. Alioni gives a 10% increase increase to attack-related stats for green characters, and Simon gives more damage. I think it's 15% more damage to characters in PvP. But he's, you know, a little bit of a sandbag. Doesn't have much CC there. Doesn't really hit too hard for the most part. But if you've got a really heavy damage strategy, he can kind of amplify that more if, like, all the characters are from what is it, different classes. So yeah, he's got his potential uses there for sure. Aside from that, I don't think there's anybody else too worth talking about in the R. You got your boy Hugo, apparently does all right on the Crimson Demon. I need to do a bit of testing there actually, but people are telling me, man, I need to take Hugo against the Crimson Demon, so I think we'll do that at some point. And again, some of these characters can be you know, useful additions to the team in the training cave in certain scenarios as well, because you don't want to build like a super OP team every single time, because you know, you have to fight the teams that you've played with. But yeah, training caves all a little bit weird. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the June update to the 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross tier list. If you did enjoy it, please do smash that like button, that'd be greatly appreciated. And if you want to support the channel, please hit that subscribe as well. But aside from that, if you have any thoughts on you know, a character that should change ranking, either an increase or a decrease in a certain mode of gameplay, let me know your thoughts and reasons in the comments section below. Like, whenever I go to update a list like this, I always go back to the previous version. I read through all of the comments, and I appreciate anybody that takes the time to give kind of really good arguments and a really, like, in-depth perspective as to why a character should be valued, like, lower or higher. So yeah, I really do appreciate that stuff. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you did enjoy it, but smash that like button, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.